Hello and welcome to Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on MegaPixx Media. Joining me today is Ken Keelor, who is CEO of Calgary Co-op. Thanks for joining us today, Ken.
Well, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me on the show, Mario.
Okay, well, Ken, you folks put out your annual report and your financial results for fiscal year ending 2020. Let's talk about sales. $1.264 billion in sales. That's up by 2.2% year over year. Okay, can you talk a little bit about why you saw sales go up in your fiscal year?
Sure, Mario, absolutely. As you know, Calgary Co-op, we have multiple lines of business. So we have food, liquor, petroleum, we have cannabis, we have home healthcare. And, among all these different lines of business, they reacted differently to COVID, which really hit us in March of last year. And our fiscal year runs November to October. So really sort of just before the middle of our year. And there was a profound impact on our fuel sales right away. And a lot of that impact still continues as people stayed home or worked remotely, etc. So also less people driving around and less people even driving to our stores. So we saw people in that time frame for a few weeks there, March, April, driving around less. But those who did drive to our food store were heavily stocking up on food. So we saw a few weeks of heavy stock up on food, and no doubt with the closure or restriction on restaurants and health and safety being a key concern, a lot of people did a lot more eating at home. So our food business definitely saw a pickup due to that. But our fuel business, as I said, saw a massive reduction in demand. Now, simultaneously, we had other lines of business where we opened a few stores, specifically cannabis. And within petroleum as well, we had opened a couple of new gas bars. And then finally, we had acquired Community Natural Foods. So that also contributed to our sales increase. And CNF had a similar experience to us with less customers coming in, but a little more loading up for a few weeks.
Okay, super. Now, when you look at your net earnings, I see that net earnings in 2020 was 23.1 million. That's down from 52.7 million the year before. Why the drop in the net earnings?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. The biggest reason for the drop in earnings really was from a lack of patronage paid by our wholesaler on fuel. So, not only did we see lower volumes on fuel, but we saw no patronage provided by Federated this year. They created in the November of the prior year what they call a loyalty program. And obviously, Calgary Co-op not buying 90% of our volume from them, which is what is the requirement for the program. We didn't have any patronage paid on fuel. So the good news for our members, though, in Calgary is the work we did on food and positioning with our new supplier, plus, of course, some benefit from the extra shopping that was done with us. We were really able to make up a substantial patronage to them and pay out 4 cents a liter, which in a year like this, you have to keep in mind that part of our net earnings was also affected by the costs incurred due to COVID, which include PPE, gloves, masks, plexiglass installation, security additionally in our stores to make sure that our team members and customers were being treated appropriately by each other in stressful times. And of course, other things like the labor hours that went into the extra sanitization, cleaning, and so on. And the pieces of our business where we lost out a bit were also some of the takeout food areas of our food store, like our deli and our bakery, which are renowned at Calgary Co-op for service. Well, those were areas that customers were more buying the raw ingredients now versus buying some of those, I'll say, home meal replacement type of items.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm assuming that the impact on the patronage returns has something to do with the net earnings. Maybe you could talk about that.
Yes.
But, Yeah, I see the numbers. It's $24.5 million in patronage return,
Yes.
decreased
Yes.
from 37.1 million.
Yes.
Full disclosure, I'm a member, so I'm one of those
Yes.
450,000
Yes. Oh, I'll give you the
members.
exact.
Members tell me why I'm not getting a bigger check.
And we'll love you for that question, and we love you for your membership and shopping with us. In 2019, our net earnings, Mario, were 52.7 million.
Yeah.
And in 2020, they were 23.1 million. The difference between those two numbers was a reduction of 38.4 million in fuel patronage refund, as also a reduction in, or a gain, you could say, from the divestiture of a store we had the previous year, which was our Taradale store that we had in the year before that. So, and then some additional margins from food and WSP, which amounted to 20 million bucks. So the big two numbers really were reduction of patronage of 38 million coming in, and then 20 million in margin impact on food and liquor, which was a positive. So the net of those two, 20 and 38, really 18 million. And then the previous year's Taradale divestiture, which was a $12 million one-time gain that we had in the previous year. So if you go back to 2019 and you look at the 52.7 million, you take off 38.4 million in patronage refund on fuel, and you take off 12 million in Taradale benefit that we had that year when we sold and divested that location. 38 and 12, 50.5. There's a $2.2 million number from 2019. And then you add on the 20 million in improved margin from food and liquor, gets you to that 23.1 million earnings.
Okay. Let's talk about a little bit about, being a grocery chain during these times. What do you foresee for the future, or for this year, for the rest of this year, considering everything that's going on with the pandemic and your response to it as a company?
Yeah, great question, Mario. We have very aggressively launched our home delivery as well as pickup from the store. And we started that last year, actually, right after the pandemic launched, and we were able to switch our food products to our new distributor. Immediately after that, we began to get into our food, home delivery and pickup. We had already launched liquor. We've got click and collect on cannabis, and pharmacy as well. We have curbside options. So first thing is we see a continued increase in people availing of the comfort, convenience, and security of being able to pick up their groceries by clicking online and then going to the store just to pick up instead of spending a long time at the store, or having them delivered. And we will continue to expand that service. We believe that our big positive there is fresh produce, fresh meat. Anyone can deliver canned goods, but we believe that we can deliver the freshest there. Second, we believe that people will continue to gradually, maybe over the next year and a half, come back to work in small numbers, though. I believe the office that had 100 people might now have 20 or 30, with maybe a 40 or 50 rotating in and out, starting in the fall or so. But we are behind. We feel we're behind some of the other countries in terms of being able to come back to work, and definitely in Alberta and Calgary. So that will impact driving and fuel, and it will impact food as well. We think that we will continue to see some buoyancy in liquor and cannabis because it is not essential to go and sit in a pub, etc. So recreational products that we have, we think will continue to see some buoyancy. In food, we'll see some flatness as people, we don't feel are going to stock up like they did last March. Even in this third wave, there may be a little stock up, but it's not going to be a wild stock up. The other thing is we led the way on health and safety with plexiglass and sanitizers. And we know that the big box stores, Superstore and others, people shunned those stores for a while because they were nervous of the conditions. I'm respectful of my competition, and I think they tuned their act up a little bit. And so people also began to go back, as well as with the economy. The jobless rate has improved very slightly. It ticked down slightly below 10 for 2 months in a row now, but it's still a very high number. And so that will cause people to focus on value. In other words, cooking at home, eating at home, and to the extent they can, celebrating at home. So I think the next year we're in for a more stable year than last year. but with a lot of the same trends, less driving, more eating at home, recreational products. Gee, I can consume them at home. I don't need to be sitting in a venue. And we might see some people towards the end of the year begin to be able to leave home and do some drives or vacations. And of course, this July, August, we think that won't happen. So this July, August, as a retail business, we benefit slightly from people continuing to stay home, staying in Calgary.
Okay, super. One last question for you, Ken. When you look into the future, maybe even just into the near future, what's your plans and strategy in terms of stores and new stores or expansion?
In one word, excitement. We have a brand new store in Sage Hill coming in November, which is in the north of the city. We have a renovation, a significant renovation we're doing at Dalhousie, which is one of our oldest but very valued stores. So that's already beginning very, very soon and will be done in a few months. So in this calendar year, we will renovate Dalhousie. We also have redevelopment plans for Oak Ridge, and the work has already begun there. We have a renovation on our Midtown store, which is like a historic thing. You know, we haven't touched that store for years because people love that store. And when you ask customers, they go, don't touch it, leave it alone. But it's time to refurbish it a little bit. So that also is beginning, and in the next few months will be completed in this year. And then, of course, we have North Hill, where we will be completely redeveloping that store. It is our oldest location, I believe. It's store number 2 in our network. And so that one is going to start. That'll be a multi-year project, and it will go, it'll be done over the next 3 or 4 years. Beyond that, we have a site in Marder Loop, which is, we have not touched it yet. And that's a multi-year effort as well that we'll be beginning work on. Outside of that, we continue to look for opportunities to grow our cannabis business. We have 10 stores, our liquor business potentially. Our home healthcare business continues to be very strong. And quite frankly, the only business where we see ourselves staying in a bit of a holding pattern is fuel. Because we believe that, right now with 37 locations, we are strong enough in Calgary, and it's more about managing the economics of it and understanding where the alternative energy market will go with things like EV stations, et cetera, which we'll be looking to put in a few of those as well for members over the next few years. So that's the plan. And then what we haven't talked about separately is Community Natural Foods. And we are doing a renovation of their downtown store. And then in the summer, we'll plan to install a bit of a new design in that store as well. First time, that those stores have had a new design. And then we'll continue to look for new locations for Community Natural Foods in other parts of the city where they don't have representation, although they have also pushed out on e-commerce. So no matter where you live, you have an opportunity to avail of their services and products.
Okay, super. Well, lots happening. Thanks a lot, Ken, for joining us today.
You're very welcome, Mario, anytime. And thank you very much for having me on the show.
Okay, great. That was Ken Keelor, who is the CEO of Calgary Co-op. This has been Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on MegaPixx Media. Thanks for joining us today.